perfect. Well,
this meeting is being recorded.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So this is our final session of 2022, and it pretty much marks our halfway point, actually, once we've been through today's session. So we're halfway through our 12 months together. It doesn't seem possible, does it? We started in July, and here we are halfway through. Amazing. So let's before we jump in, it's Monday afternoon. You've all had a lot of other things going on, I'm sure. So just before we get cracking, if you need to just capture any notes or mark anything in your diaries or in your notepads yourselves, just capture anything that might be on your mind before we jump into this afternoon session. We've got 90 minutes together this afternoon. We'll be finished by 4 p.m. latest. And just a reminder to ourselves, me as well, is this principle in mind. Just give us some space to think, right, today's about kind of layering on top of the experience, the knowledge, the skills that we already have in place as, you know, accomplished kind of business people, leaders, high performers in our organizations. And as usual, kind of capture any key takeaways from today's session, because everything will land for you in a slightly different way because of your current situations and your previous experiences. A quick recap or kind of re-engagement of our contracts. So thanks in advance for your attention. I know we've got a couple of people maybe driving in the background, but hopefully this is the only other thing that you need to focus in on. But if the driving takes priority, you have my permission to make sure you stay safe above all else. But if we can just kind of give yourselves this 90 minutes, give yourself this 90-minute investment in yourselves for today's session. As you know, everything we talk about is confidential, so we can, anything goes in these conversations, but if there's anything that's particularly commercially or personally sensitive, let me know and we can press the pause button on the recording so it's omitted from these sessions. But once we've had this session, it will go, the recording will go into the portal. I'll send you the link so that you can catch up with it offline if you want to go back on anything or if you want to share it with anybody that misses today's session. And we will open it up to discussion, and I'd love to hear kind of questions, current situations, what's going on for you. We'll come to that shortly. Hopefully we all have this commitment and feel this safe zone when we're together now. You know, literally we can, hopefully you'll feel that sense of community and support for anything that's happening for you in your role or in your role or in your business or actually in your life, if that is appropriate for you. We have an hour and a half. We'll take a short 5-minute break in the middle somewhere just to stretch our legs and give us a respite from me talking non-stop for 90 minutes. And I'll capture anything that comes up that might need to be parked for today's session. And we've got an agenda, so we'll stay on track, and we'll use, if we need to, we'll have a look at, we'll probably drop into a couple of breakout rooms today for our discussions as well. Okay, I won't go through all of these, but these are our workshop learning outcomes. I'll send you these slides afterwards. This is everything that we're working through today. I've got a couple of topics I want to catch up with today alongside the kind of catching up on where we are in the roadmap and just making sure that we address your priorities. These are our accountability partners. Hopefully you're all finding these are working for you. We can pick up if you need to have a conversation about it, but hopefully you've got the opportunity to regularly catch up with your accountability partner. Remember why we do this, right? We do this because it's about being proactive towards our own development and proactive about implementing what we're learning as part of the program. A lot of the topics we're covering are actually quite challenging, right? So some of the principles of leadership are quite challenging to implement, and we'll have these sessions together. The theory sounds brilliant, and then you go to do it in practice, and it's always a little bit more challenging when you meet other people, and especially your team members. So sometimes you'll need someone else just to bounce some ideas off, maybe hold yourself accountable to, maybe get a bit of peer coaching from. And when we get together in January, we're going to go through the coaching models. So we're really going to get a chance to understand the theory, but also do some practical. So I'll invite you to do that in your accountability partners during that workshop in January, and beyond that then into your accountability discussion. So you can start to act as coach for each other beyond your workshops. And think about that in these conversations that you're having. It's a great opportunity to start to practice some of your coaching skills. And remember, that means, you know, asking questions, helping other people find the answers for themselves. Sometimes that's a little bit uncomfortable. Managing that discomfort is really important part of the coaching process. Okay, so accountability and throughout our program, just be conscious of key actions for you and your partner, and really is about helping make progress and implementing what you're learning, and this regular, frequent rhythm of review. And then I'm leaving that open to you to decide, but yeah, agree that with each other so that it works for both of you in your accountability relationships. Okay, so I've got Irem's just joining us as well. So we talked about, first thing we talked about was, you know, this passion, this personal engagement for us as leaders. You know, if we want the highest levels of performance from our teams, we want the highest levels of commitment, engagement, and motivation. And in order for our teams to be able to make that commitment to us, we have to have made it to ourselves first. So we start with us, right? We start with our commitment to high performance, commitment to energy, positivity, and motivation. And I'd love to kind of pause as we do at the start of these sessions before we go into the detail, just give you an opportunity to, where are we? How many have we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 6, 8, 9, 8, 9. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to open up a couple of breakout rooms and put you in there. Let me see what it does when, in fact, 9. No, we're going to do 3 breakout rooms. And I'm just going to ask you to, as we do at the start of this session, just quick check-in on the actions that you've taken so far. You remember in the last session, we talked about the emotional bank account, leveraging relationships with people, making sure that we know we're making deposits in these relationships with our teams. Are we making sufficient demands on our teams? And are we doing that in a way that's balanced? Are we getting the commitment that we're looking for? And do the teams respect, you know, that relationship that we're building intentionally? And then back in our workshop at St. Neots at Stancy and Chris's place at Action, we covered the kind of 1-3-3 planning. We looked at clear expectations, setting clear expectations, making sure that we're clear for our teams, they're clear on performance, and then we can start to track and manage that on a more kind of in a more structured way and on a more consistent basis with our team. So we looked on one hand at the relationships, on the other on creating clarity over expectations and delivery of expectations. We also looked, remember, Stancy and Chris shared their team contract exercise that they've done with their teams and creating that shared agreement of how the teams will perform. And I know a number of you were kind of taking some of those seeds and thinking, right, how am I going to apply that in my own role, in my own business? So in your groups, I'm going to randomize it. I'm going to open up 3 breakout rooms. If you can have this conversation about actions so far, what have you been working on? What progress has that delivered for you? And then what challenges are you still facing with your teams? And what situations are still surfacing for you? We all have situations when we lead teams, right? We all have situations to deal with. That's perfectly normal. It's good. It's healthy. And then that leads to, okay, so based on those situations, these are the priorities that I'll need to address. So let me just check the groups. That looks good. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Let me open up rooms, and I'll give you. Do you have 10 minutes enough for this? Do you think 10 minutes? Let's do 10 minutes. I'll dip into each of the rooms so I can come and say hi, and then just check that you're all right. We'll have 10 minutes, and then we'll regroup and take some feedback on progress so far. So over to you, and I will see you back here together in 10.
This meeting is being recorded.
I joined each of your rooms on mute. I don't even know if some of you realised I was there.
Yeah, we saw you.
You saw me. But
I saw you leave.
Well, I felt like you were all in good hands. I'm like, they don't need me. But my work here is done. But genuinely, some great conversations that I observed and listened into. And I say I don't think I said anything in any of the breakout rooms because you were just flowing amongst your groups. So I'd love to hear from you what kind of some of the progress, but then also I noticed that a lot of it was focused on, okay, right now this is what's going on for us. And there were probably some themes in there. I made some notes as I was listening, but let's go room by room. So we'll work from through the order in which I went into the room. So I went to the first room with John, Matt, and Ria. What was kind of the predominant theme of your conversation in that room? Who wants to update us?
I can start. I'm sure the rest will jump in. I think the common theme again is staff and resources and the lack of it at the moment. Matt has some major frustrations, which is totally understandable because, you know, we're getting ready to kickstart into a new year. Strategy hasn't been finalized. There's a lot of, certainly from my side, a bit of low morale just based on like company culture and different things that are happening outside of my control. Obviously, I'm one person down. So we've noticed quite a bit of a slow process there, trying to get things up and running. John will probably tell you in more detail. He's needing to recruit someone, but someone above him doesn't want him to have someone come in, but then he can't do his new role well. So, and then I've also got an issue of I want to recruit someone quite quickly, but the process has taken quite a long time. Before I met with you all today, I had an interview with someone who I thought was a good fit for the role, but my counterpart felt like they would be too soft in the sales role and didn't have that fierceness behind her. But I felt like that is there, but just needs a little bit of molding. I wasn't such a hard no. So taking on the feedback from John and Matt and everyone, and yeah, just kind of trying to find a way to get a full team again.
Yeah, wow. So and similar challenges across the three of you. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's useful just to hear other people's side of it and share some ideas about what you can do to start to get some momentum as well, right?
I think the thing about just staffing and recruitment, it's not just below, it's above as well. You know, for my issue is I've got 2 lines of management disappeared at the moment, and no direction and no real strategy being defined. So you can't pass that down to the people you're working with. You know, and John's saying that, like, you know, he's got a new job, but he's only doing his new job to a certain percentage because he can't backfill his own role. And Ria's obviously like struggling. And, you know, you've got decent candidates there, but.
Yeah, fascinating. It's interesting that you've all 3 of you in that group. I mean, it's a random group, right? But you've all got similar challenges.
Similar issues, yeah. It's also nice to know that you're not alone as well. So
this is what I was thinking. When you said I have a similar problem, I was like, thank goodness. Like, I was downloading to Oliver the other day and I was like, I feel so bad. I'm just taking over the whole conversation about trying to get someone in and what should I do? And, you know, I was really picking his brain because he didn't obviously have that same scenario. So it's nice to know that some other businesses are going through similar situations.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes there isn't an immediate answer.
No,
it's about navigating as best you can through the period of time that you're in until you can find the answer, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly
not ideal.
That's exactly the situation I'm in now. So I've built the framework for the sales team through what we've kind of learned together. So that's all up and running, and then just to fill in that little gap that needs to be filled, I know is not going to happen now, and probably it will be pushed into Q2 of next year. But I've just got to, like you say, get to that stage, keep things ticking over until I can get to that stage and get somebody else on board. So it's more of a not a long-term issue, but it's not going to be fixed straight away.
And you know, the other thing, John, the work you've done on that 133 is excellent. Thank you for sharing it. I think everybody's got a copy of John's 133. It really is really clear.
No worries.
The other thing to remember, and I say this for myself as well as for everyone on the call, is when you're in a situation where you are running short of staff, you've got challenges with direction, with leadership. One of the simple things you can do is go back to priorities and help your team to go back to priorities. When people feel overwhelmed, just get them to press the pause button for a moment, get all their stuff together, go, right, hold on, let's just get it all out. What are all the things that you're working on or trying to work on or you see as a priority? And then help people to go through that list, right? What's number one? All right, that's the most important thing. Okay, if that's the most important thing, that's where we focus. When that's complete, what's number 2? So get them to and then kind of get to the top 3 and go, right, once you've got, if you can get those 3 things on track, nailed, then let's look beyond that, because normally we've got lists of like tens of things to do, right? And nobody ever gets through their to-do list. But what we want to do is know that at the point where we sign off for a day or a week or the month or for Christmas, right? At the point where you sign off, you're confident that you've done the most important things and that your team feel the same, so that you control what you can control, and anything that's out of your control, you have to just kind of accept it. And I know it sounds really simple, but certainly in leadership positions, it's so important for our teams, because sometimes they can feel completely confused, completely overwhelmed. They'll have multiple demands, multiple things going on. And one of the best gifts we can give them is clarity over the priorities. And it would not necessarily 1-3-3, because that will come as part of your planning for next year. But even in the moment, even in a day, just right, no problem. Let's press the pause button. Let's take half an hour. Let's just sort your stuff out. Help you get clear on your top priorities. Then when they leave, they just feel so much more, just not only clear, but relieved at all the noise. The noise seems to quieten down. And it's something we can do for ourselves, something we can do for our teams as leaders. Really important, especially at times like this, when we're getting towards the end of the year, and it feels like, it always feels a bit manic in the last month of the year, doesn't it? This month feels manic for most people. Great, thank you, John, Matt, Ria. So room 2 was Chris, Iram and Oliver. How did you guys get on?
Yeah, really good. I think our one was similar. I think we had a general theme of kind of managing teams and their expectations, and like not micromanaging so much, and kind of having people stray away from where our values and how we wanted to run, the direction we wanted to go, and how to pull them back to kind of center line.
Yeah, good.
I've got one at the moment where, and going back to values and behaviours, so Chris was going through his 1-3-3, and I said, well, so what values and behaviours have you got in there? And it's, I think you said, Chris, about time management for somebody, and you've put things in place. But I've got somebody where it's a case of you giving them the values and behaviours feedback, and it's a repeat offender. Now, I've only been in post for 5 months, and the guy who I'm talking about has been here for 4 years. So when you look at it, he's had a clean record until I've joined, but within 5 months, there's been 3 things that is some quite serious. Maybe getting us blacklisted from accounts, being accused of harassment, alcoholism, smoking in his company car. So quite big things.
Yeah.
And the feedback from him was, "You're bullying me. You've been a bully." And
have you spoken to anyone about, like, anyone else in the company, like, prior to your joining? Like, what?
Oh yeah,
what
no, they've all said it, but nobody's done it. They've all said, "Oh yeah, he's got a history of accusing people of bullying him." But you look at his record, it's completely clean. And so it looks, at the minute, it looks like I'm having a bit of a witch hunt for this guy. But so we're having to do things very slowly and stretch it out, which is really frustrating, because I'm a complete D personality. So I'm having to pull back and say, okay, let's take things slowly and give you every opportunity to do better. Anyway, long story short, it was a case of, you're going to have to come back to me and tell me how you'd like your feedback to be delivered, because I need to be able to give you feedback without you putting your defences up and saying you're being bullied. So that was my situation last week. Wasn't the best. It's never fun.
Well done, Iram. You're picking up on something that should have been dealt with. It doesn't matter who by, but it should have been dealt with, and it wasn't. Yeah. The easiest thing to do as a manager or a leader is to dismiss kind of poor behaviour and go, oh, well,
that's just how he is. It's Alan's Alan, that's how he is.
Yeah, we have to accept it.
Yeah.
And actually, it takes courage to address it. It takes courage to address it over and over again, especially as you see these things come up. So no, one thing to reassure you is, know you're doing the right thing. You are doing the right thing. It might feel bloody difficult, and often the right thing does.
Yeah.
But trust your instincts and your intuition, because you absolutely are doing the right thing. And at some point, it will turn.
Yeah.
And when this person realizes, actually, my usual approach of slipping into those poor behaviors, accusing my manager of bullying,
Yeah.
doing it again, when he realizes that that behavior is no longer tolerated,
Yeah.
he'll have to change. He'll
Oh
change.
yeah, I got well, Patrick never had a problem, and he would have backed me up. Well, I'm not Patrick. So,
Yeah. No, good for you. It's tough. It's a tough situation you're in at the moment, Erin, but that is what's going to make you a stronger leader in the future.
thank you.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, and look at everybody's faces. Look, everybody's smiling. Everybody's with you on this, Erin. Everybody is with you on this, not just me. Everybody's with you on this.
Well, I think what it does is it just builds respect and credibility for you,
Yeah.
and that you're not a pushover, you're not going to push around, and you're going to instill the right values. As long as you do it consistently,
Yeah.
nobody can challenge that, can they?
Yeah.
Because if you let this go now and you have an issue with another member of staff, you deal with that one because you feel a bit stronger in 6 months, 12 months time as a leadership role. All of a sudden, you didn't do that for so-and-so,
Yeah.
Just
And as
ask,
well-
do the rest of your team, are they all pissed off with him as well? Or do the rest of the team sort of
yeah,
see how he behaves? And
Alan's Alan. That's just how he is. That's just Alan. He's 64. It's fine. He's just waiting for retirement.
but are they almost like, oh well, it's just Alan, it doesn't really matter? Or are they actually why does Alan get away with so much?
Yeah.
I think it's more the second, but
Yeah.
I don't think they've been brave enough to say it. But he has burnt some bridges with, and that's the thing. It's not just me. He's burnt bridges with 2 other team members as well in the past.
Yeah. If I can give one little bit of advice, because I've been through something sort of fairly similar recently, and it's sort of have the kind of have everybody else in the forefront of your mind when you're having these difficult conversations, because that's what I did. I got to the point where I thought, actually, I can't let my team down by not addressing this. And actually it was how the rest of the team felt and doing it for them that actually made the conversations a lot easier for me. And then if I can give any advice, is to record everything, just get it written down.
And that's
then
what my
you can just
HR
build on
director
that.
said. So she had to sit in and say, because nothing's been done before, you have to start all over again, even though that everybody knows that this is what he's like. We've got to start all the way from the beginning. So thank you though.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's good counsel, Stancy. Very good counsel. And documentation is really important. The other thing I think we talked about is, and this is really difficult in those situations where it's highly emotional, but is complete objectivity.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever you're looking at a situation, try and lift yourself above your perspective or that person's perspective and talk about it as an observer would view it. So, for example, the smoking in the company car, when there's a no smoking in company car policy, the policy says no smoking in company cars. If you're contravening the policy, that's it's breach of the company contract. And so as long as you just, wherever possible, it's about values, it's about standards, it's about objective, kind of the objective viewpoint of what's happening with that person. And it just helps you, it also helps you feel a bit less, emotionally.
To be honest, I don't feel bad about it. I just feel more frustrated that nothing's been done before, because I think everyone's different, aren't they? Maybe I'm just a bit too easy about giving constructive criticism, let's call it.
Yeah. No, good. You're leaning into it, Erin. That's the main thing. Very good. Very good. Well done. Good. Anything else from room 2? No. Good. Good. Okay. Room 1 was Abby, Tim, and Stancy. What did you guys talk about?
So I had a couple of common themes really. One of which was managing difficult members of staff, and the other was managing other departments that are putting unrealistic expectations on myself and my team's time and energy. Basically, they're dumping quite a lot of work on us at very short notice. So basically, how to address that, because within the other department there are more senior people than me, but that doesn't mean that I can't go and have that conversation. But I think Abby had quite a good piece of information, which was a challenging member of staff, which we had a little conversation about.
Yeah, I missed the last session, so the last time I was on with the group was when we were up at Action, and
Yeah.
I spoke about the situation that I was having with one of my guys, and more around like values and behaviors, and like a few different instances that had come up, and everyone's consensus was to like extend his probation because it was coming up to the 6-month probation review. And it definitely gave me a lot of kind of food for thought that week after we met and how to deal with it. And I decided not to extend the probation simply because I was saying to Tim that the probation was technically up for review the month before, and he was then on annual leave for 3 weeks. So I'd had a really short conversation over the phone with him before he went on annual leave and just said, you know, everything's fine. It was probably like 2 months actually, everything's fine. Then he went on annual leave, then he came back, and over that following 6-week period, I didn't get time to get a probation review meeting in, and that's when these kind of instances had occurred. So I felt like it would almost damage our relationship more by me then going back on my word and saying, look, I know I said that it was fine, but actually now there's not. I just felt like that may kind of ruin the trust between us. So instead, I cleared him from probation, but just put in like a meeting in 6 months' time to touch base on a few points and gave him a few actions, and tried to be as direct as I could in that meeting. And I think he got it. I think the behavior things, there's not really been any other flare-ups. I think he respects a little bit more, or I feel like there's a little bit more respect in there. The only ongoing bit that I was saying to Tim and Stancy was around managing workload. I still just find it really difficult what my expectations of what they should be doing versus what they're actually doing, and trying to come to like a middle ground there. So I had a meeting with them, like a strat meeting a couple of months ago, and I previously, because they're quite new to the team, it's a new department that we've created, I don't give them like a call rate, or didn't set what their diary should look like, but I was a little bit more prescriptive in that meeting and said, you know, this is the kind of thing I'm thinking of. 3 customer visits, you should be out with the sales team, you should only really have 1 admin day a month really for their role. They shouldn't really need any more than that, and their diaries are still really empty. So, you know, I had a call with them this morning, and they're both working up until Christmas, but their diaries are completely empty. And I'm like, so what are your plans for this week? And they're like, oh, we've got loads of admin to catch up. I'm like, there's no way that there can be that much admin. So I think I need to look at my expectations, but also I know that they should be doing more. And a tool that I was speaking to Chris about in our catch up a couple of weeks ago is around the 1-3-3 plan. And he shared with me, Stancy mentioned it as well, and Tim says he uses it for himself. And I think that's definitely going to be a tool that I should use moving forward. I've got a kickoff meeting with them in January, and they're very similar roles. One just does the north, one just does the south of the UK. So I can almost do the same plan for them, and present it in there and have it very clear. And then it just gives me something to touch base on every quarterly review and really measure them against, and to include in that something around their diary and their timekeeping and their meeting planning, I think is going to be quite crucial for next year.
Do their meetings, Abby, have to be with their clients, have to be face to face, or are they on the phone?
I don't really have any preference, to be honest. So my team look after dental corporate groups, so more often than not it's going to be remote meetings, or going in and dual calling with our territory managers on the ground. So I'm not fussed, I just want them to be doing the meetings. As long as they're having them, I'm happy. At the moment we're struggling to have them, I think.
I wonder if a suggestion might be helpful for you is, I just feel like maybe there might need to be some team contracting with them. I think they are missing that. I think when you do the 1-3-3, I think that'd be a good time to reintroduce it as a group level, so they're individually accountable. But what I would also say would be, maybe say to them that you would attend 1 or 2 of the meetings with them, just to sit back as like their coaching person, but really it might put some fire up their arse, excuse my French, actually get some meetings booked in. And I used to have that in my previous job, and my boss would say, right, I'm coming each quarter on a couple of visits just to see how you sell, essentially. So it could be a good shout.
Yeah, no, definitely, thank you. I will. I try and attend as many remote ones. Our diaries don't normally add up, but I just need to keep a close eye on it, I think, and doing something like that might might help. And team contracting, we have had the conversation. It's with me to properly write up. So my plan is to again present that in our January meeting and almost have them do like a 2022 review, and then the afternoon session to go over the written up contract and then introduce the 133 or and so fingers crossed. I think we'll get there. It's just I think I have very high expectations, and I think that they're still trying to work out the role. And I maybe just need to be a little bit more patient, but also we've got a lot of pressure on us and very big numbers. So I'm also like, come on, like pull your finger out and let's get going. There's so much potential, and I don't really like the slowness of it.
I think it might be quite nice as well, Abby, if you know, just they could be struggling to make those appointments, because I think sometimes as well with the big corporate groups and doing it online is quite difficult. So, you know, maybe have like a brainstorming session, like, right, how can we engage more with the corporates? What do we need to do to try, you know, get them to attend more meetings, obviously, you know, buy more products, or maybe kind of get them involved in how they can increase the amount of online or face-to-face appointments that they can have as well, so they're involved in it and not just sort of, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate a little bit, because I know sometimes it is really difficult to get an appointment with people, especially these corporates. So it's different ideas that you can all share together to ultimately get more meetings in the diary for them.
100%. We both know the industry, and I'm not expecting them to have head office corporate meetings every single week, but I'm just wanting them to be out with the team. You know, we've got 10 territory managers. They haven't done field visits with any of them, and they've been in the role like 7 months now, and that's piss easy.
Like dual calling is the easiest thing to do, actually, isn't it? And it's no effort.
Exactly. They all get on, so there's no problems there. It's just about, I think maybe they were a little bit comfier in their old roles, you know, working from home during COVID, and now it's just about get out there, you know, and working on that balance. So we'll get there, but that's just like an ongoing challenge.
I think as well that whole COVID after the pandemic work ethic just needs to go in the bin. Like, I think people just really, oh, we work from home now, and no, we don't commute, and oh no, we don't do that. I think people need, and that's what we're doing with our team in 2023. We're literally like, there is no after the pandemic BS we want to hear. It is literally pre-pandemic mindset, because I think where work-life balance took charge and it was more life balance than work balance, I think people just kind of, they're just missing it.
Took it too far. Yeah.
Interesting. Very good advice. Thank you, everybody. Very good advice.
Thank you.
Abby, one of the things that I remember from my earlier leadership career when I first started leading teams was this. So I learned this. I'm probably repeating myself. You think he's telling that story again, right? So I remember going on a sales training course, and remember that I was taught very often you have to get the customer to say what you want them to say, right? And in order to do that, you have to carefully ask the right questions. So if you want the customer to say, I've got this problem that I need to solve, you have to ask them the right questions to get them to say it. With your teams, I learned this again from a coaching perspective, if you need your teams to say, actually, I need to do more activity, I need to be out in the field with our own teams, I need to be booking more meetings on a regular basis. If they don't say it, and you're the one that says it, and they just go, all right, Abby, then when they go away, they don't think I'm fully committed to that. They think Abby's told me I've got to do that. And if you find that change doesn't happen, it's because they're not the ones saying it. So that's the seed I'd like to plant with you today, to think, right, when you get into that January strategy meeting with them, how do you get them to be the ones to say to you, I'm the one that needs to make this commitment to be out in the field more, work with our teams more, to actually hit some numbers, and think about that as a way. How do you craft the conversation? Stancy's got a great suggestion about, perhaps this is something we need to do together. Are they not? Perhaps they haven't quite figured it out, right? So there might be something you need to do to coordinate a workshop or do something together, either with you and them or with key members of your sales team and them. But if it doesn't come from them, you may find yourself meeting this resistance over and over again. So that consider, right, how do I get them to tell me they need to change rather than me telling them?
Yeah, thank you. Very
There's
useful.
your challenge, Abby.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bless you. I feel like all I've done is giving you a task.
No, it's very useful. We're planning our kickoff meeting for the whole team, and a lot of it is going to be around the strategy of DSOs and corporates, which is my team. And then the week after, I've got my strat meeting, so it's all in the works now. So I'll definitely start taking that into account.
Yeah. If you want to road test anything, you can do it either in our WhatsApp group. You can do it one-to-one with me. Just shoot me a message, and I'll happily kind of respond to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, pleasure. Good topics. Great discussion, everybody. Thank you. Right, we're at 23 minutes past. Do you want to take 5 minutes? Do you want to grab a drink? Quick leg stretch? Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll give you 7. Why don't we come back at 7:30? 7. I'm feeling generous. It's Christmas. 7.